Good morning, Pampanga, my outback. It's build day 5 here at the unnamed house. Here's the plan. The work crew have got a new toy. We'll come to that shortly. We have plumbers on site who are starting to build out the area where the pump room will go for the swimming pool. They've also got a job to try and help clear some of the water from the columns in the main house, which has accumulated over the last few days and isn't really going anywhere. And we're going to get the first columns set in the perimeter wall. I think it'll be limited to the wall at this point. I don't think there'll be any in the main house itself. But first columns, hey! What could possibly go wrong? So, the first hole for a column, this is on the perimeter wall, that's getting prepared for concrete being poured in. So they're putting the little cage footing in the base, even though there's still water in there, and then supporting that on top of these little concrete cakes. I'm not sure how visible that is, particularly in this light. The purposes of those cakes, as I may have said yesterday, is to keep the steel off of the soil to prevent any corrosion later on. So the cage has gone in, gravel has gone in, which you can't see because of the water, and it looks like we're just going to do I guess maybe a test fit, or maybe it's a final fit of the first column. In fact, it looks like it might be final. I'm not sure in the end whether there will be a gap between our perimeter wall and next door's. I guess they'll try and butt right up against it if they can. But there you go, it's getting tied in. Very, for me, exciting. First column, the whole build. Over here we have concrete mixer number 2. There are 2 on site. I'm not sure if they've got the other one working the other day. This one looks like it's getting a little bit of percussive maintenance, which is the only kind of maintenance I know anything about. You hit it with a large hammer. Over here we have a new crew. These are the plumbing crew. I'm not sure if they're all permanent members of the plumbing crew, but there's 6 or 7 of them. And what they're doing here is, well, basically trying to clear out some of the water that's accumulated after all the rain, but they're also starting to prepare to put in the pump, which will be used for the swimming pool. There's a lot of plumbing work going on today, which is the first time we've had plumbers on site. We've just taken delivery of a mechanical digger. This was here before the build even started, or the build proper even started, and it was helping to clear some of the trees from the property line. But it's back, having been away for the last 4 or 5 days. One thing at the moment they can't do is use the mechanical digger here. The ground is just too soft at the moment, and they're worried that if they start trying to use the mechanical digger here just at the moment, the ground will just give way. Certainly if it gets too close to any of the holes that have been dug. So at the moment this has to remain a manual job, which is all on hold, pending the building of the pipe to try and take away some of this water. So this area is going to be pretty quiet, at least for probably quite a large part today, if not all of today. The workers have been reallocated doing other things. A lot of them have been moved back over towards the steel area, or some of them have been moved back onto the fence line to help with that project. Here we go. It's not all manual. A lot of it is, but it's not all manual. And the bottom line is, I may have mentioned before, this is a cost issue. This is, for an hour, very, very, very roughly, 50 times more expensive than a labourer, even a skilled one. So it is used in sparing amounts when the architect feels that it's completely necessary. Well, it's lunchtime, and as the Sun newspaper, the English Sun newspaper, said many years ago, phew, what a scorcher. But I think that's obviously going to be true many, many, many days of the year here. So this is what a mechanical digger can get through in a couple of hours in the morning. This rather large hole wasn't here first thing today, and this is part of their drainage solution to try and get water away from the main site, just here, the house site. Right, let's have a wander around. It's like, as I say, it's lunchtime. We do have quite a significantly larger crew today. There's 20 of the regular construction crew, plus I think it's about 6 of the plumbing crew who are dealing with this water issue right now and looking to put the pump in behind the house. So, considerably larger crew. I'm sure there'll be a lot more progress. Here's part of the progress this morning. We're getting columns going in for this side of the perimeter wall, and they've extended down to that old falling down building and very slightly beyond. So there's a lot have gone in. I'm not sure if they're fully in yet. In fact, no, they're not, because I can see there's currently no concrete holding them in place. So that's still to come. But a lot of them have been put in place, or built and put in place, and you know, there's a lot to do. Very, very, very roughly, we need 200, 210, maybe a few more, to cover the entire perimeter of the land. So there's a lot of these to be done, but a really good start, and that's helped by having the bigger crew size today. It's 3:15, so at the end of the afternoon break for the regular crew, but I did notice that the plumbing crew didn't take a break. They just kept pushing right on through. So let's go and see what else has been going on in the earlier part of the afternoon. So the mechanical digger kept going for quite a lot longer. It's moved on now, but kept digging, and now they're just basically pumping out water. And the engineer today said he believes that by tomorrow it will have drained enough that they can start putting columns into place in the main building. So here we have gravel being thrown into the bottom of the big old hole for the column. Let's see if we can get in close without losing the picture. Oh, a bit wobbly there. Ground's all over the place. Can you see it? Yeah, maybe. You'll see that there, or you might be able to see below, in the bottom, they've got the little concrete cakes to elevate the steel rebar. So according to my weather app, it's 29 degrees, but it has this real feel number that they attach to it, which says, or said at 3 o'clock, it was 37 degrees, or 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Can't blame the cow for having to lie down, but you'd have thought she would have found some shade. I'm not sure if this is vicious, or too vicious, or Sid, or unnamed. And here we have all sorts of things coming in on the trucks. Lots of metal piping, parts to create scaffolding. Maybe all of this is to create scaffolding. So every day there's more stuff coming in at the moment, which I suppose is kind of normal at the beginning of a build.
Right, I'm not going to get too close, obviously, because of the noise. But there we go, concrete mixer in action. I'm not sure I caught that on an earlier clip. Don't think I did. So off they go, filling it up. Concrete mix on the way. I'll see if I can find out what the ratios are that they're using here. I imagine it's all fairly standard, but I'll ask the engineer if he can tell us. And lastly, for the 3 o'clock-ish tour, more columns being put together, the stirrups being attached, or loosely attached at this point, onto the vertical steel rebar. So this is a second drainage hole, I guess you would call it. So they dig this down to a depth that is lower than the holes that are almost next to it over here, inside the walls of the house. And the idea is the water, you don't need pipes, the water will in theory just drain from those holes inside in the house into this one. So it's the end of the workday for most of the people on site, for the regular crew. We've still got, over in the far distance, I'll go and have a look in a minute, but we've still got the plumbing crew trying to get finalised over there, and we still have the guy with the digger, the loader, not the loader, the digger, digging out the second hole to try and drain the water. So the engineer says by tomorrow, if there's no rain tonight, no major rain tonight, they should be able to start working again in this area and potentially getting some of the columns in place. But there was nothing done in this area today. There was no point trying to do anything with buckets. It just was going to take far too long, and even with the pump it was taking too long to try and pump this water out. So hopefully now, with the hole over that side and the hole over this side at lower levels, the water sitting in here will drain out. We'll see in the morning. What could possibly go wrong? And today most of the focus, most of the work crew were putting into place these columns. And the engineer said they will try and butt our wall right up against the wall of the property next door, which is a subdivision. Not particularly full, but I am told all the land has been sold, it just hasn't all been developed yet. But we're going to butt our wall up against this and go very considerably higher. So a lot of progress down here today. Quite a few guys working on it, but they got a long way. Very positive to get the start of security going, along with the cows. And almost finally, lots more steel. The cages for the base of the footings and the columns. Columns themselves. I think I saw some beams earlier on. And a group of guys winding down after a very, very long, hot day. So, that's this group. One more place to go. So the last group, still working on this area. They are a separate group that are contracted by our contractor. And the engineer has told me tonight they will keep going until they finish. And I've got no idea how much longer that might be. But they've really put in a real shift as well today. They didn't have the break that the regular crew took at 3 o'clock, unless they did it a little bit earlier while I was not watching. And they're still going.
and it is now almost 5 o'clock, and they started at 7. So very long day for them. Managed to give themselves a tiny bit of shade with that tarp, but long day to be out in this very hot sun. Hopefully for their benefit, they're getting close to finishing. So there we go, for almost everybody, the end of day 6. A lot of activity in different areas today. It wasn't focused on just one thing as we had for a couple of days. But day 6 is in the bag. It's been a long, hot day. Probably more of those to come. Sorry, I'm sweating buckets just standing here. So, tomorrow we'll see what happens. We'll see if the engineer's prediction of starting to put columns into the main building area come true. But for now, that's it. So, if you wouldn't mind, give us a subscribe if you haven't done it already. Give us a like. And I think they say share. Okay, see you tomorrow.